Good morning, everybody. I'm Rob Clayman with the Oshkosh Chamber, and glad you could join us today. I want to welcome everybody. This is part 3 of our 4-part webinar series, From Surviving to Thriving. It's presented. We've got their team with us again today. We're glad Jim, Brett, and Tyler could join us. Today we're going to continue to learn how we can all lay a framework for how you can grow your business virtually through sales, advertising, and marketing products or services online. Again, this is part 3 of the 4-part series. How tall do you want to go is what it's titled. So we are glad you could join us today. We're going to do something a little different today. We're going to try and get a little more involvement from our webinar participants. And so we think that will be a little idea, Jim, and I'm going to turn it over to Stellar Blue's co-founder and owner, Jim Dubinsky, to introduce his team and to kind of take us through the process today. Jim, thanks again for joining us.
You bet. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate the opportunity again to partner with you guys over at the Oshkosh Chamber. So yeah, hello everybody. This is, like Rob said, this is our 3rd iteration of our Tuesday webinar. And last week, well, the first week we did more of a generalized topic, more strategy focused. Last week, I know a lot of you were here. We talked more about selling online, transactional opportunities. Well, this session is going to be more about the marketing about last week. So really what we want to do today, though, is get to know you folks a little better, too. I know when I look at the attendee list, I'm seeing a lot of the same people, and we're doing a lot of the talking, and in reality, your stories are more important than our stories right now, and why you're here and how we can help and what we can do just to answer some questions. And I think today's webinar is going to be even more generalized from a marketing standpoint, Facebook and Google, and in terms and topics that we can all gravitate to. So really what we want to do is make this much more engaging. So if you guys don't mind, we'd like to just go through the attendee list right now. And Mark is going to open up your audio if you want, or you can just put your name and your company and your website in a chat if you prefer that way. But I think if we know more about you guys, we can tailor our stories more to what you're going through, and we can make this a little more engaging. So that's our hope today. So before I start going through that, I'd like to first of all introduce Tyler Huffman and Sir Hildebrandt, aka Brett, and these guys are the 2 strategists here at Stellar Blue, and they're the folks that set up the scope of projects. They're the ones that talk to our, if somebody calls us with a question, these guys are the ones that field those. They have the most stories. They have the most ability to answer your questions, because this is what they do all day long. So it's imperative that that they're here too today. So so the 3 of us should be able to help most of you answer any frustrations or anything that you think you could possibly be doing online as well. So why don't we start out with Angela? I think you were the first one here today. So why don't we start out with you, Angela? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're here for, and what are you hoping to get out of today's session?
Sure, yes. Yes, good morning. Angela Bergstrom. My company is Step Into Humility Leadership Solutions. Actually just joined the Oshkosh Chamber, I think 1 or 2 weeks ago, so I'm a brand new member. I am actually just trying to be very honest, I'm so overwhelmed. I've been in business, it'll be a year in June. And as far as the marketing piece goes, I'm just so completely overwhelmed trying to figure it all out, from social media to I have my website up and running and built, but trying to figure out things like forums and landing pages, and it's just so incredibly overwhelming. And of course, being new in business, just my own little business here, I don't have the capacity at this point to hire a big marketing firm or anything like that. So I, of course, as a member of the chamber, started seeing these emails come in, and your webinars, thank you for hosting them, really jumped out at me, because it just, anything I can learn at this point, and as you all know, I'm sure there's so much stuff out there, and feels like everyone kind of tells you to do something a little different or go in a different direction. So I'm just kind of looking for, I guess, anything I can get my hands on as far as, good maybe starting points for social media and things
Excellent.
that it sounds like you're going to cover today. So thank you so much for
Excellent.
hosting.
You bet. No, thanks for saying that. My first thought on that, Angela, is analytics. There's so much you can do, just like you said, but when you read the analytics, and we have a session coming up, I believe next week or the week after that, that focuses on how you read your opportunities for you and give you personally a reason to do something, because you can be just scattered everywhere and who knows, but if you're reading the analytics, it's going to make you more efficient and it's going to make you more pinpointed at what you're trying to achieve. So I appreciate that very much. Thanks. Greg, nice to see you in the roster there. Greg, what can we do for you today?
Yeah, well, thanks again for doing this, to reiterate what's been said so far.
Our pleasure.
Sharing knowledge. Why I'm here, there's two different things that I'm doing. One, obviously, a lot of people don't know this yet. I'm in the trade show industry, and we currently don't have many trade shows happening. Does business. So I'm still staying in contact and have my pulse on that industry pretty immensely. But one of the things that I've decided to do is determine the scale at which I could do a startup business where I would be supplying temperature scanning devices to businesses and public-private in North America. So where I am at the moment is working on branding and marketing. The branding and marketing strategy is a huge gap, and with it being a startup, there isn't much capital available. So hiring a firm like yours at the moment it's cost prohibitive until I get like a first big sale.
Sure.
And there's targeted industries, of course, for distribution, and just working through those steps. Legally, I've already covered those components for the structure of the business, but the marketing component is currently a big gap. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah. Greg, what's the product again?
There are temperature scanning devices. There's
gotcha.
Handheld units. There's ones that you can put by a time clock, and you can put them in different places, but where they get placed, I'm not allowed to advise people on. So for legal purposes at the moment.
Are you drop shipping? Is that what you're doing with these? Or are you actually physically holding onto these scanners?
They'd be drop shipped. I'm not going to. Yeah, I don't believe that supply creates its own demand.
Yeah, right. Okay, so you're really looking at a target market out online right now, right? That you're trying to pinpoint who sees your advertising so they'll buy from you instead of other people that are doing that right now.
Well, I'm actually focused more on the institutional sale at the moment. Like I'll give you an example of names of companies so you understand it. Like Cintas, Aramark, UniFirst, and then with the food industry like Cisco Systems, Don, US, which is US food subsidiary, companies like that.
Sure, gotcha. Okay, it's all about the people, the connections then for you, right?
Yeah, right now.
Okay, interesting. Okay, well, this will be interesting for you today. This will be interesting, Greg. I hope you ask a lot of questions as we move through this. A lot of this is about a product and how you can take a product to market using internet marketing. So good.
Thank you.
Who's next? Angel. What's going on in your world?
She did say in the chat that she has a dog in the background and children, so she'd prefer to use the chat, but she's a human resource associate at 4imprint. So awesome. Well, if you have anything you want to add to your background, type away, and we'll read it out as we get it. So
I have some friends that work at 4Imprint, and they say it's the best place to work in the world. So kudos to you and Human Resources. Brittany. Is Brittany still with us? I think we may have lost Brittany. Okay. Christine. What brings you to our webinar today? I'm sure Christine is there. We'll get back to you, Christine. How about you, Kimberly? I've seen you in the whole series so far. You deserve a prize for being in every one of these. What can we help you with today?
I'm Kimberly. I'm from Hyde Music. So we obviously have physical retail in Oshkosh, but we're also in Stevens Point, Appleton, Madison, and Green Bay. And then we're full service online as well. So we've really been pivoting when things closed and stores closed, pivoting to the website and really focusing more on the website, which was kind of a blessing in disguise. It's one of those things that we'd been putting off for a rainy day, and then, you know, we had all the time in the world to focus on that and fulfill orders and things. So just making sure that we're kind of doing the best thing that we can there. And then I'm from the marketing department, so I handle all of our social media and stuff like that, the vast majority of our marketing. So just looking for, you know, ways to stay relevant. We've been trying to really engage with our followers through all of this and kind of be that voice of positivity versus focusing on the negative. And also, what a better time to learn a new instrument or get back into music and that kind of a thing.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, today's going to be fun. Go ahead.
Have you guys seen a lot of increase? I mean, sports, especially in like sporting equipment sales, have been up exponentially with e-commerce and such. I'm just wondering if you guys have seen an increase, given people have a lot more time on their hands.
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much a true increase versus a pivot from coming in to purchasing online. We've definitely been fielding a ton more questions via our Facebook. The first probably 2 weeks after the initial stay home order, I couldn't do much else other than sit and monitor our Facebook page from all the questions and things like that. But we've been running some promotions. We've been able to launch some new product lines, do some virtual events. But I mean, if you have a child that's practicing for school, schools were still grading on band class through virtual learning and things like that. So supplies were still needed. I would say probably the most popular thing is ukuleles, or somewhere in the guitar market, you know, ukuleles, that type of thing right now. Because ukuleles are a great thing to learn at home. They're small and, you know, they're not going to take up much space if you don't have much space, and they're a lot of affordability options. So I think we've seen a spike in interest there for sure. But I think, you know, we have grown. I just don't think it's been like all true growth. I think it's been, some of it has truly been a pivot from our usual people that'll come in once a week to the store, switching to online because we dropped our minimum purchase for free shipping and things.
Excellent.
We have not been dead though, so that's a good thing.
yeah, living the new world. Yeah, that's what happened in there. You're ahead of the curve. We're hearing stories like that from everybody right now, and you're right. The folks that get out there and are the most creative and aren't shy about the new world are the ones that are gonna lead. Realizing that. How about MJJ? What can we do for you today, MJJ?
Hi, my name is Maria Jacobson. I'm with Partnership Community Health Center. Hello. I started this series because, well, Stellar Blue did our website, and I followed them on Facebook and thought it would be good to get some further knowledge. Even though we don't particularly sell an item because we're a community health center, I'm to enhance our website to make it more user-friendly, more attractive, and so forth for our patients.
Great. Maria, what is the goal of your website? Why do you have a website out there?
tell our patients where we are, what services we provide. We talk a little bit about our providers and who they are, what they do. So yeah, mainly locations and services.
More informational. Okay, great. Well, thank you, everybody. That's a great start on how we can keep this moving along. I hope if I missed anybody, raise your hand or jump in now. I'm watching the attendee list as I asked for everybody. So beautiful. So again,
comment in chat, Jim.
Oh, I missed that. I'm sorry.
He's looking for information or ideas that I can bring back to our marketing, social media, trade show teams. I'm hoping to start more conversations and brainstorm new ideas on new things we can try as far as marketing our brand. And thanks for doing the webinar. It's much appreciated.
And that would be my only other thought in that discussion. What do you do out on the internet? We can give you some
it's for
advice.
imprint.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's right.
Yeah.
Too much info at one time.
Yeah, we're going to go actually pretty heavy into the strategy today. So that'll be great. Angel, you'll get some good stuff.
Good. All right. That sounds good. We appreciate you guys all jumping in and letting us know. I'm going to turn it over to these two guys now.
Look at that. For imprint, huh? Hopefully the video worked well. I forget it's not going too well.
Great company though. So good stuff. So I'm going to turn it over to these guys. They're going to go through some of the content we got, and then we'll circle back and answer some of your questions and kind of hear your stories on how this can work together. So without further ado, Tyler, you want to jump in and get us off to the races? Cool.
Absolutely. I'm going to share my screen. I also apologize. Much like the internet here has been a little bit iffy. My computer has been iffy today. So if you all lose me, blame my computer, I guess. Do I have screen share? Yes, I do. Sweet. All right. Let me know. Do you guys see this?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So ultimately, I'll just kind of run us through what our high level is about this in case you guys have missed any of these. But ultimately, we are just kind of doing this series. This is part 3. Okay, so part 1 was the foundation. It was very high level. We kind of talked a little bit specifically about just making sure that your website is ready to get into this process of monetizing your site and trying to find means of cash flow online, obviously in a time when your physical location, any brick and mortar, might be off the table. So just high level, wanted to focus on that foundation of your website. From there, Brett kind of took us through a lot more about the specifics of being more transactional online. So different forms, talked a lot more about e-commerce as a platform and different options you have there. Today, we're going to dive more into the marketing aspect of that as it pertains to e-commerce and those forms and whatnot. And again, trying to monetize your site online. And then as Jim mentioned, next week, we'll actually go into, that's part 4 of the series, we'll go into analytics. So it's a lot more of a deep dive into how you can utilize that data to really help drive what you're trying to achieve online. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean you're trying to make a sale of a product or anything directly online, but just sometimes it can be as simple as that contact form. So we'll go into that a little bit more in depth. But part 2, quick summary. Well, I'll go through kind of the highlights of what we had for part 1 and part 2, but ultimately part 1, like I said, high level, just focused on crisis and survival. We brought up Stephen Covey's 4 quadrants, really highlighting we all were taken by surprise by all of this COVID stuff. Started in that, like, everything was in crisis mode, everything was urgent and critical. Are we going to be sustainable? How are we going to survive? And then we started to evolve into this. Things aren't quite as urgent, but they're just as important, right? We're being a little bit more strategic with our decisions to see how we can survive right now and then grow into the future. So that's much of what this was focused on, obviously emphasizing the importance of social media. We really highlighted Google My Business and different social media platforms and keeping them up to date as much as possible. You should be regularly checking these because all of your information needs to be consistent. And that applies to, if you're a restaurant, you better have links to any e-commerce solution or option that you have out there. So if you're on Eat Street, don't require your customers to go to the Eat Street app to find you. They should be able to find you via your website, via Facebook, via any social channel. Last but certainly not least, we talked about e-commerce, and particularly in this one, because we didn't want to do too much of a deep dive, we talked about forms. It's pretty simple these days to add different contact forms to your site. This is actually a payment form that we did for Butterfly Festival, but it allows people to collect payment online. So you might have a service that you can't necessarily sell online, but you have clients still sending you checks or normally would be dropping by your office to pay you. Why not simplify that process and allow them to pay you online via credit card or however it's easiest for them to spend money with your brand ultimately. So from there, we went into part 2, and that's really more focused on being more transactional with your site. We're not going to do too much of a deep dive today because we're going to reference back a lot as it pertains to marketing. But ultimately, you know, that's the blueprints for how you can really start growing your business is scaling it up online. So identify what products or services you could bring online, if any. Again, if not, you always can have contact forms and whatnot. Set up e-commerce platform in general. So it can be more, there's a lot of different ways that you could go about doing that, but it's all about not reinventing the wheel, right? If you can have a payment gateway, simplify that process for your user to not have to call you and give a credit card number over the phone. They can just go to your website, click pay my bill, and do that right there on the spot. And even for shipping, if you are selling a product online, whether you have a full shop set up or you're just selling 1 or 2 simple products to keep your business going or keep your business afloat in these times, you can automate that shipping process pretty easily online with all main carriers nowadays. So we just wanted to highlight some of the ways that people could go about doing that. One thing that we certainly need to emphasize, as I'm sure everyone's hearing more and more about it now, is security. So obviously, if you don't already have security, at a bare minimum, an SSL, a secure socket layer is what that is. That's that little lock that you see next to your domain in the address bar when you're searching a website. You really need to increase your security. If you're collecting any information, especially any type of payment, security is critical. And then last but not least, make sure you're sharing, like I said, every platform that you're on, you should be touting, you know, how people can interact, not only engage with you, but hopefully spend money with your brand. So we just kind of highlighted that. Again, we'll go more in depth on that today as well. So we're entering part 3, which is really focused on marketing. I'm actually going to let Brett, Sir Hildebrandt, I'm sorry, jump in here and kind of spearhead it for us, and we'll bounce back and forth. But as we mentioned, if anyone has questions throughout, please raise your hand, jump in. We're very flexible and very casual about the process. So it's all about helping you guys. So Brett, I'll let you take it, sir.
Sir Hildebrandt, thank you. Yes.
Sorry.
I'm working. I have an application in to be knighted right now. So yeah, if you want to zoom in real quick here, we can. So if you've been to any of our workshops before in the past, thank you, first of all, but you also may have seen, we like to create a framework and make these larger concepts of digital marketing, you know, broken down into smaller, you know, what we call building blocks. So we're trying to give you the big picture of everything, because I heard, you know, earlier today, it can be pretty overwhelming, especially if you're starting a new business. It's like, I know I need to do all of these things, but in what order should I be doing them? What are some of the things that I can do on my own and take some time learning versus what should I hire out? So yeah, it can be a little daunting. So we use this to break it down. So in digital marketing in general, you know, we have, you know, your strategy in the bottom left. We talk about analytics, search engine optimization, content marketing, digital advertising, and finally multimedia on top. And the thing that this overlays is that little half circle, which is your website. So there's a lot of aspects there, and each one of them needs to be optimized and talked about. And we like to, when we go in with our clients, we want to make sure that we understand this strategy, or we call it a discovery process, which we'll get in a little bit more detail here, to help you maximize your marketing efforts. And as you guys are, you know, your capital may be low. You want to make sure that you're getting, you know, every bit of value out of every dollar you're spending in these early phases. So just wanted to show you guys this. Again, if you guys ever want, we have a whole client packet of just simple questions to kind of guide you through each of these areas. It's great for new businesses. If you do want that, just kind of email us afterwards or let us know in the chat, and Tyler and I can send you a client packet. It's probably about 10 pages, but this is in here, and it's a really great tool from that standpoint. So
it's literally what we use for our clients when we go in and set up a strategy. It's the framework and the questions and the structure that we use. So yeah, anybody interested in that, it's a great starting point for any individual.
Yep. So all right, here. So this is how we kind of our marketing process. You know, we first want to understand, you know, the business, understand you as a person as well, you know, and we want to make sure that we can audit your current situation. If you are, like, we'll say you had a website out already for several years, or if you don't even have a website yet, you know, we want to understand where you're at in the process, and then we want to strategize with you, set up your goal, understand your goals, and determine marketing in the marketing mix that are going to help achieve your goal. It's not a one size fits all, which, you know, I wish, you know, everybody's like, well, can't you just put me into a system and it just, it works? Well, there are systems that we can put you in, but it all depends on your goals, what channels your target audiences are at. So there's all these things that we have to make sure we understand about you, which is why, you know, when you partner with a marketing firm, you want to make sure that they're actually getting to know you and you're not just a number in the process, so to speak. And then once we have the strategy figured out, we understand what makes you unique, your unique marketing branding strategy, then we get into the implement phase where we're going to perform, you know, the technical aspects of executing the marketing tactics, right? Or a lot of times we can just provide you a report that you can implement as well. So that kind of helps. Like I mentioned before, there's different levels that we can partner with you based off of your budget and what you can afford as well. And then finally, we get into converting, which is ensure that the traffic coming to your site, you know, is converting and they're qualified leads, right? We don't want a whole bunch, you know, if you're not an international, you know, if your clients aren't international, we don't, you know, it's great if we say, hey, we got 1,000 people coming into your website, but if 90% of them are outside of this country, you know, what good is that? So we want to make sure that that's all qualified leads. And finally, grow. Once we start turning this, we kind of want to put the pedal on it, or gas to the fire, and really help ramp up your, you know, whatever your revenue generating conversion is, whether it's selling products, whether it's getting request a quote, request a service form, whatever that call to action, or, you know, from that aspect, is we want to make sure we're ramping those up. So that's good for here. So now we're going to kind of go into, we also want to make sure, you know, we can provide you guys with a couple tools that you can go to. They're free tools that are out there, just some of the things that you can use to help your own web presence. I don't know, Tyler, do you want to talk to this one here real quick, or?
Sure, yeah. So one thing that we talk about quite often with our clients is just the importance of writing out your, we'll help you optimize your content, but we're in a different age now, right? It's more than just keywords. We have to write to bots and to AI that's actually measuring sentence structure, more than just relevant keywords and things like that. So there's quite a few different tools out there, and this is just one we wanted to share. We'll always recommend people go and have their site scanned through a tool similar to this one. You can go and just copy your domain right into this tool, and it'll explain to you roughly what the grade levels are, for what the reading level is, I should say, for your readers, your viewers on that page. And it's really incredible because you should be targeting 3rd to 4th grade, which is hard to fathom, but especially if you're like doctor's office or something, like trying to simplify that down to 3rd, 4th grade. But honestly, that's what the statistics show is most relevant, and that's going to help you with your SEO rankings and everything like that. So this is just kind of a breakdown on, you know, typically the score ranges of that. So I do encourage you all to check out that link at the bottom there. And again, feel free to reach out to us after. On our last slide, we'll have an email address. Any questions you have, just shoot them over if we don't catch it in the chat today. But we're happy to share that. But a really good tool to figure out kind of where you're at and maybe start adjusting some of the content you have on your current site.
Awesome.
Brett, did you want to
Yep.
go through
Yeah,
SEO
you can go on
Quake?
this one. Yeah, if you want to click it in here. This one's called SEO Quake, another free tool. Actually, Tyler and I both have this. It actually goes in on your search bar, underneath your search bar, and allows you to get an analysis of every website you visit. And you can actually plug your website, up there in the green, and it'll give you a quick SEO audit. Again, this is going to help for all that organic search engine optimization that you should have control of, or that you can reach out to your person who's hosting your website, and you can make changes, and hopefully in the back end of your website. So it's a great tool that you can just see where you're at. If you pass, if you have errors, if there's warnings, you can go from there. And then if you click over next, Tyler here, this is what it looks like when you are searching for something, right? All those little icons there, you can hover over those. Those just tell you, you'll know if those are good or bad based off of that. It'll tell you, what your ranking are for these services on certain websites. You can see Bing there. It'll also tell you how many backlinks. It's a really just a great all-around tool to see. You can also see how long a website's been built, right? Was this just built up yesterday, or was this done 12, 15 years ago? It was a unique tool that I used to find out if somebody was trying to be like a scammer reached out to us, and I found out the website was just built 5 days ago. So I'm just like, okay. So it's a really, really great tool. I highly recommend it. And once again, once you start using it, you'll understand what all these rankings are, and they'll help you along the way. So another free tool is Screaming Frog. Really fun name there. Can you zoom in on this one? Does that zoom in a little bit? There you go. So
Yeah.
this one's really great. It's going to tell you if you have any technical errors going on with your website. So status okay is great. It also lets you know when you click on each one of those pages what your metadata and description off to the left there, search engine optimization. You see that down in the bottom left there. It shows you what each of your pages show up like on Google, which is it's a great tool. And it also tries to keep you, if you look on the bottom right there, tries to keep you in the maximum length and descriptions of all that. So just another great tool that you can use as maybe, if you're starting out and you want to, what are some great tools that I can use and get kind of just making sure that you're following some of the SEO rules, that Google likes essentially. So just wanted to let you know about that as well.
Yeah, we have obviously a ton of different tools that we utilize, and we just wanted to highlight a couple of these that do offer free versions. So all of these you can go in and use a kind of a high level or a light version to at least get some valuable information out of. And then obviously if you really value it enough, a lot of them do offer paid versions as well that are going to really dive into a lot more information for you.
So in general, you guys, you're basically explaining a website needs to be completely structured properly to make it function out on the internet. Just if you put a website out there doesn't mean people are going to come, but if you build it so people can, when they enter, are easily, or are first of all, easily found. Let me start that over.
Absolutely.
You're easily found.
Yep.
And then once you're to your website, they're reaching your goal as fast as possible. That's really what these tools are set up to be. So even before you're out there on Facebook and out there on LinkedIn promoting yourself, it really is important that your website is functioning the way it needs to. Mm-hmm. And there's so many tools that can help you do that.
Absolutely.
Good point, Jim. A lot of this is really focused on that organic, just optimizing your site organically first. There's obviously you can go a long way by paid ads and really, we're trying to look at, bare what's the most simple way to be optimizing your site. So we start with a lot of that. So, but
really is setting them up for search engines, making sure your website is using the words and the content all relevant and all laser focused on your goal.
Yep, absolutely. And so those are just kind of, we always get questions, is there anything free or any, low budget, low stuff that we can use on our own? So I always try to give some of that value right away too. And then now we want to kind of talk about, your marketing website. We have a report that we do. It's usually around 20 pages. We're just gonna do a quick snapshot of a few key things. Like I mentioned, you definitely want, whether you do this on your own or whether you work with a partner, an agency, or just someone who is, more skilled than you are at marketing in general, really doing a deep discovery process. And I'm going to show you a few things that we like to figure out right away. You kind of see this whole breakdown, as we're talking about the project background, your goals or branding, messaging, value propositions, site map, we talk about content strategy and writing, and we get into eventually what we're going to talk about here a little bit later, paid background or paid strategy. So right here is great. We always want to focus. Another thing that we like to do is look at the competition. So, and this was a real, we kind of anonymized this report. So where it says client, it actually was it's a real client of ours, that we're going through here. And it's a really great graph you see off to the right there. It's actually going to show their competitors, and it's going to show, you can hit over again, Tyler, one more time here. What's really cool is that it shows where their competition is for all the keywords. It shows you where you're overlapping. So the blue one here that I kind of took out there is our client. And then you see some of their other competition, where they're ranking for and how many keywords overlap. And also, what keywords are they missing out on? So you see like that big yellow one. So all the way over there, that's a whole area that could be primed for them to, they could be missing out on keywords for some of the services there. So we want to we're taking a look at a lot of the areas that aren't overlapped to make sure that we can take advantage of something that maybe their competition is doing. We also have tools in here that looks at the competition, their ads. What is their ad copy? We'll let you know exactly what page you're ranking for a service, what page your competition is ranking for a service. So you're going to get the dirt, the skinny on your competition, which is really great. So we put that all together in that process, which was kind of in the bottom there, talking about understanding and strategize. So that's, we want to take that deep dive with you as a client, but also you can be doing that on your own, coming up with your target market, your value propositions, looking at, the keywords, all of that stuff. So we want to give you, our clients, or I should say, a document from there. So even if it's a client doesn't want to maybe work with us for the ongoing, implementation of the strategy, which we're going to talk about here, but at least they can have a report and they can kind of take it and run with it on their own. So it's really beneficial to have that strategy, which was that bottom left block there, before you start building up and going through. You want to make sure you're maximizing every dollar. So now we can kind of go in here and talk about, some of the strategy, right? So like I said, every business is unique and different. And after we go through that discovery process, we want to figure out, so where is, where can we, market? Where is your audience at? What channel, like social media right here, what social media platforms is your audience on? So making sure, that, and then it kind of comes down to, then you have to make sure that you either have a channel set up already and optimize, which we'll get to in a little bit. But that's the strategy we want to figure out right away first. And then finally, then we want to get into the initial on-site optimizations. So you kind of saw some of those free tools there. We give it a big, long description in our discovery report. But that's where your organic search, we want to make sure your base is set up correctly, right? So you can only grow, you maybe heard the adage that you can only you build a building as strong as a foundation can support, right? That's why the foundational pieces, like Jim was mentioning, the website, and then also if it's built correctly and keyworded, all those foundational pieces allows you to really grow, as tall as you want. We got to make sure those foundational pieces are in there. Traditional media is always an option. And then finally, driving that traffic to the website, because the website is your number one salesperson working 24/7. I always laugh when a lot of people I feel, I'm going to say this carefully, but I feel like they don't value their website. And it's an area where they, for some reason, I don't know if it's just the mindset of maybe COVID's helping people realize now that online is here to stay. It's a huge player that's less taboo now. But if that's not like one of your number one, highest, I'm going to say, allocations for your budget, I feel like you're missing out. And the competition, who knows that, is always going to be above you on there. So just something to consider, instead of, maybe hiring 5 new people, make sure your website's, fully optimized, because it's out there working 24/7,
Yeah, one thing just to touch on that point for traditional media, if you caught last week's part 2 presentation, we talked a little bit about the stats. We showed some of the numbers on how substantially increased e-commerce in general has been in the United States and Canada and the world for that matter. So right now is an ideal time to, if you've been dabbling with or thinking about more traditional forms of marketing and media, look into that now if you have the means, because you're going to get the most bang for your buck at this time. Because though media consumption is substantially up during COVID, the ad spend is really, really down. That's the first thing that a lot of large companies cut out of their budgets. So it's definitely an opportunity if you have any budget, because you're going to get the most value for money right now on that.
Yeah, great point. So now that we figured out, where you guys are gonna go, now we're gonna talk about, your plan for the goals, tactics, and traffic driving. So now we're gonna get the strategizing and then the budget around your marketing. So this is something, kind of the next step on here. So, you got to drive traffic. I mean, we always joke, we always say, hey, the old, gosh, I can't even think of the movie now, but, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the whole, oh man, if you build it, they will come. Gosh, can't even think of the movie anymore. Kevin Costner, Field of Dreams. There we go. Just had to start talking.
You were going to get there eventually.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually. Yeah. No, I need more coffee. All right. No. So same thing with your website, if you build it, doesn't mean they're going to come. Well, now we're going to make sure they come, with the driving traffic aspect. And we want to get people, just because you optimize it and just because you do all this stuff doesn't mean that they're going to find you, right? So organic SEO, search engine optimization, is great, but it is a long play. It takes a long time for Google to learn your websites. It takes, it's a long-term strategy of updating your website with content, all of these good, strategies that you should be doing. But if you're looking to make money fast, there still is no better way than driving traffic through paid advertising. So we kind of break down the steps here, and we'll get a cool little graph in a second here. But first, we always want, you paid advertising. We want to get them to landing pages, and that could be a landing page on your website. If there is one piece of advice that you guys could take down, is if you are going to do, Facebook ads, you're going to dabble into that, or you're going to create a Google ad, make sure that it's not just going to your homepage. Make sure it's going to a relevant landing page on your website. Whether you create one specifically for a product or a service, or just even go, at least it's going to a page where they can at least fill a form out right away. Please use that piece of advice moving forward, because otherwise you're hoping that the people that are going there, I'm going to say, we talked about the third grade level. People are impatient. Are they going to want to take the time to go navigate your entire site, or do they want to basically be led, with their hand held all the way to what you're telling them to do? I clicked on your ad for a specific reason, for the service or product. When I get to that page, I want to see it there. Otherwise, I'm clicking back out and going down to the next ad. So on that page, you gotta make sure there's a call to action, we call it, or a purchase if this is an e-commerce or product, right? So we want to make sure that the product is there, or call to action could be fill out your email address, and we'll give you a report of some sort, like an ebook, or sign up for a newsletter, something that you get their email from. And what happens is then you go into your CRM or customer relations management software, or just even a spreadsheet if that's all you have right now. But you can export that spreadsheet from your website, And then you have their email address, which then plays into the whole, once you have their email address, it's an easy way to market to them, offer them discounts, services, things like that. And that's a whole other strategy on that, kind of the whole, now you have their email addresses. It's kind of the whole farming what you have versus trying to go out and hunt get new clients. So it's really from the paid advertising, click the landing page, the CRM and forms to sign up, ongoing SEO and blogging and content writing. So if you want to click over here.
Brett, before we get too far away from that, I just want to stop because we're going to explain more of that, but really what we're showing on that other screen there, Tyler, is the meat and potatoes of digital marketing. You know what I mean? It really breaks down to, you don't need a massive website nowadays. There was a time where you needed, 80-page website. You don't need that anymore. Nowadays, what you need to do is create a really quick traffic pattern that gets them to either buy your product or give you their email address or contact information. You might have to give them something for free. You might have to give them an ebook. You might have to give them, I don't know, a trial version of something, but get an email address. The two components are either have them sell or be able to contact them back to open up that communication. And these tools are set to do that. Mm-hmm. But what we find is a lot of people will turn a website into, a 75-page website that contains users manuals and FAQs and a lot of content. And some people need that, but be very aware of keeping it slim. Less right now on a website is really important to get people to where they need to be, not dazzle them and cause all kinds of bells and whistles away from your main traffic pattern. So, a chamber website is a site that's going to contain 80 pages. They're going to have a lot of membership stuff. But if you're selling products, if you're selling, temperature scanning, you're not going to want to have a whole lot of stuff there. You're going to want them to see the product and contact me to buy it. You know what I mean? And it's really as simple as that. When you're on your own website, driving people to that page is what we're about to show you and how we can get you there. But it's a lot simpler than you think it is when you really break it down to that level. So I don't know, Tyler, can you go back for a second and have people just kind of look at that screen one more time? But this is really it. It's really about making sure your website's set up properly. But when they get there, it's not about having them go to 10 different places. It's about getting them to one specific area, either buy my product or sign up for this, or give me your email address for a newsletter, or whatever the case is. And that's the core of it. How we do it, that's where the fun starts, but that's the core of the process. So go ahead, you guys. I just wanted to interject that a little bit, how important that screen was right there.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. So kind of, expounding on that is now, now depending, I'm not even going to start throwing out, ideas here as well, like Greg, having, trying to sell or get a form filled out for a request a quote if you're going more from the institutionalized standpoint of your clients, or, whether for imprint, if you're having them go to a specific product that you're showing, you guys, I know you guys already have a lot of systems in place here. This might just be a little bit more narrow versus just kind of generalized, from there, or had music talking about instruments, or virtual lessons. This right here is just a workflow of webinar sales. So when we put out our own webinars here, this is a funnel that we create just to lay it all out from a visual standpoint. So a lot of what we talk about is kind of hard to conceptualize. So we always try to use graphs as well. This is a really neat tool that we use here. But in this scenario, right, we're doing 3 different types of channels for paid advertising through Facebook, LinkedIn, and then that A is Google Ads. And what we're doing is we're figuring out how much money we're going to have to spend to get X number of people to sign up, or in this case, look at it for how many contact us forms or request a quote services, whatever you guys are looking for. That revenue generating conversions, that's what we're looking to, that's going to be our measure, right? That's how you measure your success. So ideally you put $1 in, you get 3 out, and you take those odds every day from here. So we're driving traffic from paid advertising here to a landing page, right? That's an optimized landing page that is ready to convert. And we want to make sure it's simple and easy to understand, you know, third grade reading level. You know, put that form, you know, right there if you're looking, if you're driving people to a form. So we have like call it book an appointment, but it's really, we can fill out a form or they can call us. We make it simple and easy for them to opt in, right? And then now we're also getting their email address in that form as well. From there, you know, what we say is we're gonna have to drive X number of people across that landing page, right? So, and then from there, we're hoping, 5% of the people convert, right? You know, so there's all these short rules and general guideline statistics, and just using our 16 plus years of experience, we're going to tell you, how much percentage, are supposed to come off of that page. So we use reasonable conversion rates. So then we can give you realistic numbers of what you can expect and why you can expect it. So, from there, we're open to get, X number of people there through the phone or the form. And then from there, then we get a meeting set up. And then finally, here, this is just some, products that we offer. So we get people to, after that meeting here with them, we show them our solutions, our products. Then we say, hey, do you want to do the 190, 345, 550, right? And then we are showing you, we're expecting 30% of the people to do the 190 product and 15% to do that. And finally, from there, then it comes over to sign proposal or sign proposal or a form for the service that they want. And then we can expect, hey, 10 people are going to buy these products. Out of all of that, we needed 600 people to go across that landing page, so we kind of work backwards, and then we'll say, hey, that, cost us $1,000 to get that, but we made 27.25 out of that. That's some pretty, that's great revenue from there. And then it just comes down to, well, if we want to grow that, then we would put $2,000 in ads or whatever that would be. But we're using it based off of numbers. And then, so this workflow, you can kind of see what can you guys do from that standpoint. What offer do you guys have? Do you guys have to book an appointment to do that? So this might fit right with, what you're talking about, because you wanted to have an appointment. And in that meeting, you already have it laid out. You do a virtual meeting and how much it's going to cost or whatever it is, next steps. And then you get that signed proposal. So just working through that. Obviously, if it's a product right away where they just go there and buy it and it's all on your own, you wake up and you just made $2,000 overnight, that's awesome to have that if you're a true, if you have e-commerce products like that. So
let me add to that just a little bit, Brett. So if Tyler, can you go back to that screen one more time? Sorry to jump in here, and we're going to run short on time. But don't be afraid of the dollars. Brett was talking about 1,000. You can start with 1, 2, and 3. You can start that at any number you want. You can start that at $10. You can start that at 50. You can start that at 100. You're going to get ratios. You might get 2 to 1. You might get 3 to 1. If you're starting to put thousands in, you're going to get bigger numbers. But at least if you start small, you're going to see the trend and what's working and what's not. And that's really the key. You don't need to go in with a $10,000 ad budget on the internet. You can go in at whatever you're comfortable with, set up the process, make sure that landing page is optimized. We started this whole thing out by saying that landing page is the key to it. And then drive that traffic 1, 2, and 3 with the dollars you want to spend. And then the ones that work, we'll increase that and eliminate the ones that aren't working or adjust accordingly. But at least you get a starting point there. But don't fear the number. Just make it the number that you can afford. $10 a day might be all it takes. Or $10 a week sometimes is enough to get a measurement to say, hey, that worked or it didn't work. So don't think big numbers. Think more of a strategy than, oh my gosh, I got to spend a lot of dollars here to make this work. When you see it working, then you chase it. Then you put all kinds of dollars into it to chase the ones that are working. But that's a good starting point for you guys. So I'll let you take it back from that, Brett. But I want to make sure that everybody didn't freak out that 1, 2, and 3 can be expensive, because it isn't. It can be very cheap if you want it to be. Yeah,
and these next ones are going to go pretty quickly. We kind of went through the heart of the the power or the presentation so far. But what you saw here is, we always say work backwards, and I kind of already mentioned on it. From what's your goals? What's a revenue you're looking to make a month, or profit? I should say profit, or is it just a certain number of people signing up, 10 people, whatever that is, or purchasing that product, or a certain ratio purchasing this option A product, option B product, like you kind of saw that we had earlier. And then we reverse engineer it to that monthly ad cost needed to generate that. And as Jim said, it can be less because, when you work with an agency or somebody who knows how to do paid advertising, there's things to use like negative keywords. There's things to target certain people, you guys, on Facebook, LinkedIn. There's ways to do that. And I found out the hard way, just in my own personal business before, thinking, oh, I can just go and create an ad and I'll check the region and I'll check that they're joining these groups and they have all this stuff and I'm going to put money in, it's going to be great. And sooner or later, oh man, I just spent $500 and I didn't get one person to figure it out. But then if you have somebody who knows what they're doing, they can make $10 actually convert versus me spending $500, not getting anything out of it, not knowing how to change it. So just if you've had that experience with Facebook or other things, people saying it's going to be easy. If you've experienced that, it is just kind of almost like you just took money and lit it on fire. So when you work with an agency or somebody knows what they're doing, they can make the dollar go by, maximize that dollar, I should say.
If you guys want a quick tip, and I know we're going to run out of time, but note this real quick. If you go out to Google and you do a search on 3x3 Facebook ad campaign, you're going to discover how to do something like that. But just try that once and take a peek at 3x3 Facebook ad campaigns. And you're going to see how inexpensive it really can be.
All right. And then really quick here, hey, money bags. This is when we're going to start, you just start rolling in with money bags here. So we go into implement here. This is where, once we figure that all out, now we're going to press start. We're going to execute what we strategize, right? So that means if we're doing paid advertising or paid strategy, right, we're going to start that up and running. If it's organic, we're going to start working that strategy. If it's ads, we're going to, create those, landing pages, email campaigns, all the things that were part of that strategy, from the discovery to the when we were strategizing also what channels and all that. Now it's time to implement that. So and that kind of goes back to if you have accounts, right? So if you're in Bing, we're doing Bing ads or just in general, getting on all the search engines. If you don't have a Facebook account, all that stuff, we want to make sure it's set up. Or if you have them all set up, we want to make sure that they're optimized. There might be some things that you don't know about how to actually maximize and optimize all of those accounts, right? Amazon's a big player, Google products, or Google Shopping, I should say. All of that, we want to make sure that all of that is implemented and set up appropriately. So you can go next here. And then finally, converting, right? Hopefully that bottom picture, that's what we're all doing, right? We're all excited, making sales off of a laptop. But, it's more of that bottom funnel part of driving traffic versus that top funnel that we're showing. So when we're converting, we want to make sure whether that is ebooks, if it's gated content where basically they need to fill out an email to get some access to some more content that you have, a report, whatever that is. Capturing leads online, that's where the landing page, the offers, your sales funnel. It's really just whatever's on that landing page, whatever that conversion is. This is where we want to make sure that you're converting over here. And it kind of goes, and we kind of go into just, reshowing, you hit forward here. It just kind of goes back into this part. So it's really, that first offer landing page and that opt-in is what we're talking about. You should start, making conversions off of that. So, and then finally, grow. This is where it gets down to, to using analytics on the whole process that you have access to, from social media to your website, from Google, all that stuff, and putting it together. And we want to make, we're measuring the ads, we're creating recommendations. So in next week, you'll see some sample reports that we give our clients on how they can make recommendations or recommendations that we're doing for them on a monthly basis. It's that constant maintenance and ongoing optimizations. I shared that story of how I just lit $500 on fire. I just set it up once, and then I would check in maybe once a week and see. But if you're doing it right, you should be making almost daily, every other day changes based off of how the traffic is performing. And then finally, that A to B optimization or A to B testing is another thing on there. So if you create an ad, maybe you have two of the same ads going to two different landing pages. I'm sorry, the same, you have two ads that could be going to the same landing page, or you could have different ads going to different landing pages, and you can start testing what ad is engaging people, because it's like, well, this ad gets a bunch of people clicking onto it and it gets them to the landing page, but it's not converting. Okay, maybe I should take that ad and retweak my landing page, and then you might find that, right? So it's just a once and done. We're just making money, you turn it on. We got to tweak it, and then we can scale that up. And pretty soon, that's when your dollar is going a lot farther for every conversion. So, and we stay in contact with the clients, but that's just one thing. You got to be monitoring that, or have a team or someone on staff that is monitoring that. Otherwise, you can quickly see that your dollar isn't going as far as you want it to. So.
And don't get frustrated. Use the analytics to find the opportunities to make that work, because it'll work. But if it's not working, look at the analytics to find out why it's not. Cool.
So,
yeah,
yep.
Next week's a big week.
So next week we'll kind of bring it all together. Yeah, go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah. So Brett, thank you for going through that. A lot of that information, right, is the proof is in the pudding. So that's really what we're going to dive into next week, is talking about the analytics, how to utilize that analytics data to really showcase all of that effort and help you fine tune, your marketing strategy going forward. If, like Brett said, if you've got two different ads in different locations going to the same landing page, we can use our analytics platforms to set up different campaign builders to figure out what's working and what's not, so that you're not spending that same money on an effort that, you could optimize somewhere else. So we'll dive into a lot more of that next week. But I know we're out of time, so I do want to open it up for questions, anything like that, suggestions. Floor is open.
So, Greg.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Greg.
Yeah.
Lots of moving parts, but make sure the analytics are going to be the key to keep driving forward. It's easy to get frustrated when you're not making a sale, but the analytics are going to help you find the opportunities inside that.
Yeah, I know last week we touched on a couple different too, but at a bare minimum, utilize free analytics platforms. If you're,
sure.
You should have Google Analytics at a bare minimum. Obviously, companies like us, we go very in depth, and we'll showcase some of the value proposition of that next week. But at a bare minimum, you are going to get a lot of information out of that data. So I definitely encourage you, if you're not already looking at your analytics, do so, and definitely tune in next week. We'll happily go through a lot more in depth.
All right, Jim, Tyler, Brett, thanks again. Great information today. So everybody, just remember, we hope to see you next Tuesday, May 26th, 11 a.m. for part 4 of a 4-part series. So it'll be measuring digital success in crisis and taking that analytics. We're going to dive into analytics. So
cool.
Should be a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate your time. Have a good week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Take care.